Hello everybody, this is Georgia. This is going to be our very first tutorial. It's going to be a quick one. Since the longer the video becomes, it is very hard to upload it to Titanium. So let's get started. I just double click on SPSS icon, I open the software, and as you can see, this is the very first option that SPSS gives me. Um, what does it want? What is asking me here? It says, well, Georgia, what would you like to do today? Do you want to open an existing data file, right? So maybe somebody gave me a data from their agency, and I just simply want to analyze it, or I want to type in brand new data. For the sake of this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and select type in data. We're going to click OK. And now we're on the main screen of SPSS. What I want you to notice is those two little buttons on the bottom, the one that says variable view, which is highlighted. This is the view that we're on right now. And if we highlight the data view, this is going to be where you're actually going to be entering your data. So variable view, you're creating your variables. Data view, you're entering your data. So let's go ahead and create some variables, and then we'll go and also add some data so you can see how to do it. The very first thing that you need to do is create a name for your variable. Let's create something easy for today. Let's just do gender and height. So apparently we're gonna name it gender. Now I have to say SPSS does not like two things when you're creating names for variables. It does not like repeat, so it has to be a unique name. You cannot name another variable gender again, okay? And it does not like spaces, so it needs to be one continuous word. The very next thing that you need to decide is, well, what kind of data are you going to type? So it's gender, how you gonna input it to SPSS. If you click this little window here, do you see that little button right here with the little dots? You are being given all these different choices, okay? Date, dollar, okay, custom currency. These are all self-explanatory except the string one. The string is something that you're never going to use in this course, but know that string means words, okay? So if we're analyzing qualitative type of data, we would select string, okay? So this time, the way we're going to enter our data is going to be in the forms of numbers, okay? So we're going to leave it at numeric. Here, SPSS tells you, well, what's the width of each field? That means that you can enter 8 digits in a row, and you can have 2 decimal places. So 8 usually is the default number that SPSS gives you as width size. Now for gender, we're definitely not going to use decimal, so we can go ahead and click and make that 0 and click OK. Label. The label comes in handy when you have very large data sets and you have a bunch of different questions, and the only way you can identify those questions is by creating a label. For example, you can have a variable name Q001 and another one Q002 and another one Q003. Imagine you have 50 questions in your questionnaire, right? And you say to yourself, gee, what was Q001? And this is where you would actually provide a little bit of an explanation. So here you can actually type in a whole sentence if you want to. I don't recommend it just because it becomes really lengthy. By the way, notice that you can expand or change the width of your columns. Values. Now there are times in SPSS that we need to create like a code for what we're trying to input. So in this particular case, our variable is gender. So what are the options? The options are either a male or a female, right? So instead of us typing male, female the whole time, we can tell SPSS that, you know what, every time you see I type in 1, it's going to stand for a female. And I'm going to go ahead and add that. And then every time I type in 2, it's going to stand for a male. You add and you click OK. So now we created the code. Missing and columns in a line, don't worry about it. It's just, especially the missing data, you don't have to worry about this. A line is just how you want your things to look. If you want it to be right justified or left justified, not, it's not important. What is important here is the measure column, okay? So measure means what is the level of measurement for the gender variable. So let's think about it. Gender, is that something that you measure numerically, and is it a continuous number, right? It is not continuous. It's definitely a category. You have either boys or girls, right? So it's going to be a nominal variable. Now let's create another variable, height. And height is very different than gender, right? Because it is numerical in nature and it is continuous. We're going to leave the type and width, and now we can even leave the decimals here. No need to put a label. No need to put values here because we're going to be entering raw data, okay? So there's no identifier here whatsoever. The only thing that differs here is the level of measurement, okay? So height, since it's raw numbers, actual real numbers that have a meaning, okay? They're continuous, it's going to be scale. The numbers that we enter here, if you notice, they have no numerical value. They're just identifiers. So do not be confused, okay, and think that we're treating this as numbers, okay? It's just a simple way of coding information to make our lives easier, okay? But height is a true number, and that y is a scale. Now let's go ahead and switch over to the data view, and now we can start actually typing our data. So let's check to see what our first participant was, right? So our first participant was a female. So I'm typing 1, okay? And as you can see, SPSS automatically shows that. So no need to actually type in female. And if you notice here, I have this little icon here. It's called the value labels icon, and it's a very handy tool because as you can see, if I go ahead and click it, right, it goes ahead and shows me the code for the variable that I created. So if I can keep switching back and forth, look what happens to the gender, right? It goes from female to 1. It's very handy because a lot of times maybe you just want to, it's really easy to just start typing in things like that, like the second one is a male, third one is a female. So you're just typing in a bunch of numbers just because you want to expedite the process of typing in the data as much as possible. It's not the fun part of statistics. But let's just say you forgot at some point and you say, gee, is 2 a male or a female? I don't recall. So you can just switch over and see if you did it right, right? Now for the height, you're just entering. You say, well, the first participant, what did she say? She's a female and she was 55 inches tall. The second one was a male and he was 60 inches tall. The third one was a female as well and she was 57 inches tall, and so on and so forth, right? You get the picture. So you can have a bunch of different variables here. You're just entering all that data and then you're ready to analyze. So once you set up your variables, you enter your data, you get to rock and roll, okay? So probably that is the most tedious part of setting up your data set. But once you're setting up your data set, then the possibilities are endless. You are not going to run any analysis today, but I'm not sure if you're able to view on my screen capture here the menu. But anyhow, if you're not, I'm just going to tell you what I see, just because I know that I recorded this lecture several times just because it was not capturing what I see in here on top. Hopefully now you can see it. So anyhow, here you have file, edit, view, data, transform, analyze, direct marketing, graphs, utilities, add-on, windows, and help. Okay, so these are the different menus, just like any other software. The most common one that you guys gonna use the most, I would say, is going to be the analyze menu. Don't get intimidated. You have no clue what those things mean right now. Okay, but that is not the point. But as you can see, you just use the software like any other software, and all those commands that you see here, I'm going to provide you with step-by-step directions depending on the type of test that you're going to run. So not to have to worry right now. What I would love you to do today is just go ahead, spend some time with SPSS, um, create a fake data set, play around. Don't be afraid to just click whatever button you want to see what happens. Okay, and then when times come, you'll be ready to actually run some real analysis. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Have a good one, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.